Hey, Tom here, FlipAnything USA. So this is Ken from the Mentorship, and I've stopped by Ken's to look at his properties, and we're just sitting around talking in general right now, but I thought you guys would be like a fly on the wall listening.
How you doing, everybody? One thing, Tom, is that most people don't realize in a commercial building that when you increase the rent, what does that actually do to the value of the building? And they talk about cap rates. In our economy right now, you're not going to get the same cap rate that you would get maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. But let's just say, for instance, if you were to get basically right around a 6% cap rate and you increase the rent on either one building or a couple of buildings, just say you got $1,000 extra in rent. Basically $1,000 times 12 is $12,000. If you were to take that 12,000 and divide that by 0.06 for the cap rate, your building just went up $200,000 on only increasing the rent $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that is pretty amazing when you think about it, Tom.
Yeah, $1 million per $60,000. So
Yeah.
$1 million per, that'd be a 6 cap,
Yeah.
right, on that.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways of raising that rent. You can take away certain expenses, maybe landscaping, so I don't need a gardener, you don't need to water. So just by doing one thing and not even increasing the rent, you can make the building go up $50,000.
Add one food trailer.
Yeah, or one food trailer. Exactly. So that's something where I think that in itself is so powerful that people say, well, you have to wait a long period of time in order for properties to go up. In commercial buildings, it's not a matter of what the commercial building sold for next to you. It's all about the cap rate and the income coming in, the net operating income.
Yeah, the only time that doesn't really apply is with residential property.
Correct.
You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate. I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, FlipAnythingUSA.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face to face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years. There's a beauty about both. The safety net with commercial and office, industrial, or even multifamily, is everything's based on the return. With residential property, maybe that's a little bit true for stuff under 300,000, second rentals, such land. But at some point, those are all emotional, so it's kind of like the sky's the limit. You know, people buy for school district, for family, and emotional things. On that note, you know, I've got property that I bought on a major thoroughfare, houses, and I actually tore one down and converted it and built roughly a 20,000 square foot office building. And that one brings me in about $320,000 a year income. That's an office. And I intended to do the rest with other houses in that area. But what happened was the area is fairly affluent. The housing values went up. The houses cost more per foot than the commercial industrial. And so it's easier for me to just leave them residential and sell them. They were more valuable. So
and people don't realize that obviously you're going to increase the rent in most cases every single year. So by increasing the rent, you're guaranteed for that property to go up in value. Now, of course, the economy, with interest rates going up, the value can go back down a little bit, but in general, over time, you're always going to probably, not always, but you will probably make up the difference.
And that's the same, like right now, insurance has become much more expensive.
Yeah, you're right.
And so you can have insurance sneak up on you and it will devalue your property because it brought down your bottom line. So if you have the triple nets in place and you can pass it all on to the tenants, then it's nice. If you have property tax value increases, insurance increases, in some cases water, if it has a shared water, those can be very significant. And if you're not able to pass them on, then you as the owner end up, of course, taking it in the shorts. And like I say, this has been a weird situation since COVID. But in general, I'm with you. The beauty with the commercial industrial stuff is in general, and really all property mostly, is that whatever you own will continue to go up. And so it's important you own more than one, because if you own just your home, it doesn't really matter if your home value increases, because you're probably never going to want to reduce your quality of living. So whatever you have is only going to buy you as good as wherever you move to or change up to, where if you have two, at least you have one that can take care of you.
And for those who don't understand what a triple net is, it's basically mostly in commercial buildings where you as the landlord basically give the responsibility of the tenant to pay your real estate taxes, to pay your insurance, and to pay for any maintenance in the building. So the triple net means that pretty much you won't pay for anything. Now, if you can get that, that's fantastic, but I've talked to Tom, and in many cases, you kind of might, if an air conditioner goes out, maybe you're not going to charge them 100%, maybe you split it 50-50. And some other minor things you might maybe, even though the tenant might be responsible, once in a while you still, as a landlord might take that responsibility just because the tenant maybe is not doing well in their business, and you just try to help them out. But the triple net is by far a fantastic opportunity for the landlord, because in a state like where Tom's from, real estate taxes can be so ridiculous that in 1 year you could be paying, let's just say a couple thousand, and then the next year you're doubling that just because the assessor raised the value. And if the tenants are responsible for that, at least you don't get hit by it.
Yeah, and one of the best benefits of that triple net is that when there's an increase, you can honestly let them know that you didn't raise their rent. The rent's the same. The only thing that's gone up is the property taxes and maybe the utilities and the insurance. Yeah. And so, in other words, you're not the greedy landlord raising the rent. You're just simply passing on the utilities that the tax man's doing to you.
Just these two things that we're talking about, Tom, increasing the net operating income to increase the value of the building and doing a triple net, most people don't realize those two things can make the difference in your bottom line in the future, because they just don't know.
Right.
And that little bit of information right there, I mean, that will basically pay for, or it should pay for, your mentorship, even if you have to pay whatever the current amount is. This is information that is so valuable that you don't get it anywhere else.
Yeah,
you just don't.
I agree. And the thing is, and by the way, this is Ken's house. He's got a house much more beautiful than anything I've ever lived in, by the way. And it's gorgeous. It's amazing, beautiful property. And Ken was a fireman, and but he made his money in real estate. Right. I mean, this home is not from a fireman's paycheck. This is from a savvy real estate investor. And Ken was already living well before he jumped into the mentorship, which has been really neat, because he's been a real asset to the class, because he does have a lot of experience. I was going to say on the real estate end of that, what we were talking about.
Well, let me just say one thing, Tom, on that, is that I'm probably one of the older students in the class, but because I just have a passion for the real estate, I want to learn, and Tom's taught me a lot. I wish I would have had this mentorship 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I would have been probably that much more wealthier. But with that said, anyone who's new in the class, never stop learning. I don't care how old you're going to be, or if you have a passion for something, you're going to learn so much. And I don't care who you are, you're just going to keep on getting great bits of information on every class that happens on Saturday. That's 3 hours of information that's so powerful that it's worth the class. Whatever the cost is, it's worth it just for this.
And the class has become really a huge part of the benefit of because originally the class was just the 28 hours of information and me mentoring for 3 months, but now we got over 400 hours of archives now of like the whole class, and problem solving and talking about how we did what we did to make a deal get landed. Ken's made 2 deals worth over $1 million to him now, and Jerry just last week made over $1.5 million. A couple weeks ago, my son, who I just got into the class, but right off the bat, together we got a house that's worth, we got it for $225, and it's worth over $400. It shows 510 on Redfin, but it's closer to 4. Yeah, the thing is, and this is just, I didn't expect to plug the class, but yeah, it's just a fantastic group, and there's nothing like real estate. There's just nothing. There's nothing to compare it to. There's nothing to compare it to. There's nothing that will continues to go up in value. There's nothing that a bank will loan you money on for 40 years or 30 years. They won't loan you that on anything except real estate, and that's why, because historically, it's like self-healing. It always goes back up in value. Even if it goes down, it'll go back up eventually. Yeah, it's been a fantastic thing, and it's just great to be here and like I say, and see what Ken has built for himself, as an investor. And a lot of people are doing it now.
Yeah, and like Tom was saying, I'm fortunate enough to have a beautiful house, but I've got like doctors all around me, doctors, dentists, lawyers, and here I am, just a regular real estate investor, and I'm living with other people who had to go to school for years and years and still have to work to stay in this neighborhood, and real estate has made it a point where I can retire and I don't have to work anymore, but because of real estate and the passion that you have for it, you know, it's not an 8 to 5. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's basically kind of a lifestyle, but it's like you can work, you know, super long hours or short hours, because you can hire other people once you get to a certain level, or just do it yourself. And it's just a life-changing event. Just keep at it. Read Tom's book. Just stay with the basics, and it's going to take some time, but it will change your life if you will take the time to do it.
So we're going to tour some of Ken's properties today before I fly back. And one more thing I'll add to that is, you know, he's surrounded by neighbors that are wealthy. But the thing is you might be surprised to find out, Ken, you might be the wealthiest guy in the neighborhood. and the reason that is, because believe me, I've got lawyers that have had to represent me on some things, and where some of that's come into play. And when, you know, lawyers are saying, wow, to, you know, the income you have when you're 30 years old, you're like, really? You know, I thought you were rich. No, you're rich. What? You know, but the thing is it's because how you become wealthy as a real estate investor, you're investing, you're flipping, you're buying up and buying something that just gets bigger and bigger. On its own, it gets bigger and bigger. But as you keep adding to it, you know, it just compounds. But what I was going to say is, the people that are around you, doctors and lawyers, you know, if they're not savvy real estate agents, and most of them are not, they're simply living on the savings. They've saved their check forever.
That's right.
And they're living on a 401k or something. They're living on the cash that they created, where guys like Ken and I, we're not living on cash that's in the bank. We're living on something far more valuable. It grows in value and creates cash. And that is a defining difference, and why our income will continue to grow even after we're dead.
That's right.
It will keep going, because we've created something that is self-sustaining, and where most of the people, doctors and that sort of thing, and I know because I've bought property from all kinds of doctors and lawyers in the past, they're not that heavily invested. They're more like too busy working to make good investments, so they end up making a lot of bad investments over their lifetime, usually not real estate, or poor real estate investments. But it's just interesting that you brought that up, because like I say, you live among them, but the fact is you actually have an income that continues to perpetuate and grow, which most don't.
And the lawyers and the doctors that Tom's talking about, they have to actually work to get their income. And as a real estate investor, you go on vacation. If you're sick, if you don't want to work that day, you're still making money. It doesn't matter. The machine keeps on turning no matter what you do. And for those that are in the class that are like 30, 35, 40 years old, you guys got so much time to make this money that all it just takes is time and hard work, and that's it. And following, you know, Tom's book and his advice, and going to the classes every Saturday, and just doing other things on your own, and just getting as much information as you can, you will get there if you are determined to get there, and you make a commitment. There's no doubt in my mind that there's only a certain amount of people in the class, because again, it's the 1% of the people who are going to make all the money, no matter what you do for a living and stuff. So by being in the class, you already took the first huge step. So just continue to grow and never stop learning, and you'll get there, because you guys have the time. Trust me. 30 years ago, I didn't know what was going to happen exactly, but I knew real estate was going to be a path to my success, and for sure it has, and it will never change. You know, like Tom said, when you buy property at 20, 30, 40% under market, there's just no way to lose at that point. And even one investment, like a few people in class, it's life-changing. Just one. That's all you need is one investment, and some people actually could retire just on one investment. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, another thing, you know, we were talking about, because we're both in 60s now, is 10 years goes by like in a blink, right?
Huge.
Well, and a lot of you can relate to 10 years going by like that, right? If you're 20 and now you're 30, you're going, wow, 10 years went by. Here's one of the nice things. When 10 years goes by in a flash, you're going, wow, that property's almost paid for, because you put those things in place where you own property that is being bought down. Well, all of a sudden you go, damn, 10 years, you're looking in the mirror, I'm older, but you look at your bank account, you're richer. Yeah. You're much, much richer. And you know, there's two things that never sleep. Interest never sleeps, and rents never sleep. And while I'm sleeping and Ken's sleeping, or he's on vacation, I'm on vacation, Ken's actually, he's heavy into loaning money. He has interest working for him on his notes, on his hard money loans that you do for people. And And I've carried notes, on lots of real estate too. So that interest is always working. On the profits that I made, if I carry a note, and the interest never sleeps. On the rents, and I have a lot of rentals, the rent never sleeps, as Ken does too. Yeah. And so you just can remind yourself of those things. Interest never sleeps, rents never sleep, and then go back and remember also simply that 10 years goes by in a blink, and we'll catch up with you guys more later.